Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a clay vase using the coil construction method. There's going to be a lot of different materials that you need, and some are going to be shared with other people in your table group. You're going to need a canvas covered board. You need a newspaper wrapped board or just a plain wooden board. You need 2 wooden stabilizers. You need a rolling pin, a cup of water. At your table group, you're going to be having a bin full of different clay tools. Some sponges to smooth out your clay. You might have a metal or wooden version of a rib. This also helps smooth out your clay. You're going to have a variety of different clay tools that look like this, that just get out different shapes and forms of clay, as well as a pen tool and some plastic knives. You will then need to get out your clay. At the clay cart, your clay may look like this when you guys go up and get it, and then you should find a tool that looks just like this. You need to hold the clay tool like this in your hands, and then you use this to just get a chunk out of the clay easily. Make sure that when you are done with the clay bag that you close it up. I like to twist it and then turn it around on itself so that it doesn't dry out. So for this part, the first thing you're going to be doing is making your base where all of your coils are going to be built upon. So you guys will need your template that you created in class, which is the base of your clay piece. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to wedge our clay. This just helps get out the air bubbles. The first thing is throwing it onto your canvas board. So I'm just going to take it shoulder level, and then you are going to do something called wedging, where you're taking the bottom of your palm, you're pushing it into the clay, and then folding it back onto itself. Sometimes it helps to do this two-handed with both palms down onto the clay, push it down, and then push it back up onto your canvas board. Have our clay wedged. Now we need to roll it flat. So you will need your rolling pin for this and the 2 wooden stabilizers. And you want to make sure you're definitely doing this on the canvas covered board. You do not want to do this on the table or else it will get stuck. The canvas soaks in some of the water and helps repel the clay so it doesn't stick too bad. You're going to use your rolling pin to start to roll out your clay. And then these guys go on either side of your clay. Your point here is to roll this enough so that the rolling pin is sitting on both of our stabilizers. This helps us get a nice even base. If you find that when you put your template on top there's not enough clay, then just tear apart some of the extra, smooth it back onto a side or a top, and then start this process over again. Okay, so this piece is good. I can put these away now, and I am going to grab one of the ribs. I'm going to use this metal one. Now this side is really nice and smooth, but when you look on the back side, it's not so much. So the metal rib is nice to completely smooth out your clay, compress it a little bit so that your base is ultimately stronger. So I'm just going to use this to smooth out my clay until we have a nice smooth surface, and we're good. I'm going to put my template right on top of my clay, switch to a pen tool, and I'm going to hold my template down and carefully I'm going to cut out my template, making sure that I'm holding my pen tool nice and straight. Okay, so I no longer need my template. I can just set this aside or recycle it. And then I'm going to put this extra clay aside, and here we have our base. We're now going to transfer our base onto a working surface. So I'm bringing my newspaper covered board, and this is what we're going to be using for the next few days in class when you're building up and working on your clay piece. you need some extra clay, you need your base, a cup of water. I like to use a rib for smoothing out, and also a pen tool, but you can also use toothpicks or knives. So what we need to do is slip and score everything that's going to be added onto our clay piece. So the first thing you need to do is create a coil. I'm going to go for about this thickness. So you want to aim for bigger than your pinky and then not as big as your thumb. Now, wherever I'm attaching clay, I'm going to do something called scoring, and that is just taking a sharp tool and adding little X's or crosses across that part of the clay, wherever it's going to be attached. So I'm going to add these X's along the bottom of the coil, and then also on the part of the base where I'm adding it. Doesn't have to be neat or pretty at this stage. And then I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around because I will be adding on. Okay, so we've got this, and then our base looks like this. Wherever you scored, you have to add water, so just dip your hand into your water and add some of that. And then you're also going to do it to your clay piece that you're adding, and then you're going to put it right on top and lightly press down. The water and the scoring acts like a glue so that everything is going to stick together. Now I have a little piece that needs another little coil, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Again, slipping and scoring just like I did before. And I have some extra, so I'm just going to use that pin tool to cut off the extra and connect everything together. So we're going to continue this process until you reach the height that you need. So to add on a coil on top of this, you're going to score right on top of the coil. I'm going to score on top of this coil, use water on my hands to get this wet so that it acts like glue, and then add this right on top of my first coil. Now, every few coils, you're going to want to start the process of smoothing out your coils. There's a few different tools that you can use to do this. I like to use one of these wooden tools that have the rounded edge, but you can definitely also use one of the rib tools as well. And I like to support my coils from the inside and just move my clay up so that it's starting to smush together. And then you can go in with the rib and really start to smooth everything out. If you have a hole like I do here, then you can add a little bit of clay and fill in that spot, and then go back in with your rib. And you can just get the extra clay off, just like that. So we're starting to get a nice, clean, smooth surface right here. We also want to treat the inside the same as well. This just helps the stability of your clay piece. So I like to, again, take this wooden piece with the rounded edge and use this to smooth out everything on the inside. It also helps sometimes when you need to smooth things out to dip your fingers in water and smooth things out that way. You can also use the sponge and dip it into the water, getting most of the water off, and then moving it across your clay so that it's smoothing everything out and making it nice and pretty. Okay, so I've built up my clay a little bit. Continue smoothing out, continue making it as nice and as even as you possibly can. So if you have a shape that it goes a little bit beyond being straight up and down, then you need to start placing your coils differently. So if I'm creating a vase where it's going out a tiny bit, I'm going to make my coils as normal. I'm going to slip and score as normal, but I am going to start putting these on the outside just a little bit, gradually and gradually until I get where I want to be. On the other hand, if you are making your vase go a little bit inwards, you want to make your coil as normal, but put it a little bit more on the inside, gradually and gradually until it gets where you want to be. When you are making designs, you want to make sure that your vase is your 6-inch minimum and that the shape and the form is everything you want it to be and everything is smoothed out on the inside and the out. To make your carved in details, you can use one of the pen tools if you like, or any other tools in the box. And you can do this a few different ways. You can just draw on your details. So you're basically just drawing with the pen tool. So it kind of looks like that. You can also take larger chunks of clay out with one of these tools if you wanted to do a different kind of texture or something where you need a little bit more of an indent. When you're carving into your clay, you may notice that you're going to have a lot of little balls of clay around your edges. One thing to help that is by holding your pen tool a little bit on the side instead of straight up and down. But also you can take your finger and dip it in a little bit of water and use that just around the edges to smooth everything out. Now, if you're adding a 3D element, you're going to want to take some spare clay, and I like to flatten it out and then create my shape on here. So let's say that I'm making a 3D leaf. I'm just going to cut out a leaf shape, and I'm going to add the details later. And then wherever I am putting this shape onto my clay vase, I just have to slip and score. So I'm going to score the back of my shape. I'm also going to score wherever it's going onto my vase. I need to put some water on both places and then carefully press this down. Where your edges meet, you also want to try and smooth that out. You can either use your finger with some water or use the clay tool to kind of smooth out your edges. You can also go get a paintbrush and put it in the water and then use that to smooth out things as well. And then after it's on and nice and secure, you can go and add in some details. So if you're still working on your clay piece like I am here, then you need to make sure that it doesn't dry out for the next day. So you keep it on your wooden board, and you're going to need to get a spray bottle as well as some paper towels, a plastic bag, and some tape. Take a piece of tape, write your name on it, and put it right on top. And then put it wherever I tell you guys to put your clay pieces.